right, guys, Miss George back to explain to you how to divide decimals. Parents, this is probably the only thing that you'll do over the next 8-9 weeks that we did not get to cover really well in school when we were still at school together. So your students really need to make sure to watch this video, and they may need a little bit of help. Okay, so I did start them off with some pretty easy dividing decimal problems because Miss Tammy Bailey, their math teacher next year, will be able to help them a lot more with this as they dive in deeper in 6th grade. Okay, so when we're dividing decimals, so let's look at number 1 on your sheet together. We have 4 7/100 divided by 2/10. I know your worksheet says using partial quotients, but I want you to use long division on this. Okay, the number 1 rule that you have to remember when you are dividing decimals is that your divisor has to be a whole number. Okay, and whatever you do to your divisor, how many ever places you move your decimal in your divisor, you have to move it that many times in your dividend. Okay, so what I mean by that is I can move my decimal over one spot for this to now be 2. Well, if I move my decimal in the divisor one spot, I have to move my decimal in the dividend one spot. Okay, so it's no longer there. So now my problem is 40 7/10 divided by 2. Okay, so now I can do this because I have a whole number in my divisor. That's the number 1 rule. Okay, the number 2 rule is once you have a whole number in your divisor, you're just going to move your decimal up up directly above where the decimal is in the dividend to have a decimal in the quotient in the same spot. Okay, so now that I've done this, let's not look at this anymore. Let's look at, like, this is our problem. Now that I've done that with the decimal, now I can just look at this like it's 407 divided by 2 because I have my decimal in the right spot. Okay, I do understand it's 40 7/10 divided by 2, but just solve it out like you would if it was no decimal right here now that I have it in the correct spot. Okay, so to do that, long division, I go one number at a time, starting from left to right. So how many times will 2 go into 4? Okay, so how many times can I skip count by 2 to get to 4? So 2, 4, 2. So I know that 2 times 2 equals 4. I'm left with 0. All right, now I'm going to scoot over a number, bring it down. What times 2 gets me 0? Well, 0. 0 times 2 gives me 0. Go to my next number. Bring it down. This is asking, notice that I'm working right above it. It's very important to stay lined up when you have these decimals. So what times 2 gets me close to 7 without going over? So 2, 4, 6, 8 goes over. So 2, 4, 6. So 3 times 2 gives me gives me 6. I'm left with 1. Okay, when I move over, nothing's left. Now, all year we've been writing our remainders like this, 1 over 2. Okay, it would be weird to combine decimals and fractions. So remember what I've told you can do is you can add a 0 onto the end. Notice it's 40 7/10. 40 7/10 is the same thing. If I add a 0 to the end, that is the same thing as 40 70/100. Okay? Now I can bring down my 0 and ask myself, what times 2 gives me 10? Well, I know that 5 times 2 gives me 10. Okay? Sorry that I'm running out of space here. When I subtract, I get 0, and I'm done. So my answer to 4 7/100 divided by 2/10 is 20 35/100. Okay, so I hope this helps. Make sure to zoom in with me on Mondays or Thursdays if you need extra help with this. I'm also available to be reached by phone, text, or email. So make sure that you ask your parents for help with this. I'm sure if they watch this video, they'll be able to pick it up pretty quickly so that they can help you, and I'm always here to help you as well.